Hi guys, welcome to Drawing Unicorns. Now you might be looking at this and saying, this does not look like a unicorn, to which I'm going to say, you are absolutely right. Let's fix that. Okay, so there is your unicorn. Um, One of the things that I do when I'm drawing something new for the first time is I try to kind of pick it apart and see what I already know about it and see how it compares to things that I already know about. Because one of the fun things and also the frustrating things about being an artist is you can't be an expert on everything all the time. So it sort of affords you the opportunity to go in and learn new things and look at things very closely in a way that maybe you haven't before. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you, I'm going to turn off and on my layers a lot in here until I find a better way to do this. And I'm going to go to the layer I'm going to draw on. You generally don't want to draw on top of the layer that's your original. You want to draw a layer above it so that if you're not altering the original that way. Anyway, so just something for people who are working digitally. Um, so one of the things that I look for is the structure, like the inside structure, skeletal structure, muscle structure that's underneath the skin. And especially with animals, fur hides a lot. Horses tend to be a little shorter haired, so you see a little more of the musculature and some of the sort of bony landmarks that come up. But if you look on here, you'll notice that there are parts that you have in common with a horse. They're just located in different places. So you have, the scapula right here, that's your shoulder blade. You have one of those. It's just, on your back. And then that attaches to a shoulder, right? The place where the humerus, which is your upper arm, and the shoulder blade, kind of form together. You have you have a shoulder, and then you have this upper arm, and then you would have an elbow, right? But look at everything's kind of in a different spot here, okay? And then see you have, your radius and your ulna. This is sort of together here. And then you have, now this is considered a knee, but I'm going to show you a different picture in a second where things are color coordinated. And so you can kind of think of this knee as a wrist. And everything below it, this is a hand. Okay? So all of these bones are structured differently, but they are still things that you have. Same thing back here. So you have, a pelvis back here. You still have, your spine, rib cage, neck, skull. So all of these things, probably you do not have a tail. You have a femur, so this is your thigh bone right here. And then you have the connecting structure of the patella, which is your kneecap. But look at how high up the horse's knee is, right? It's way, way, way further up. Usually we think of our knees as being sort of halfway on our legs, but on a horse it's really not. And then you have, the what would be our lower leg bone right there. And then you have, this is their ankle, okay? And again, this whole thing is foot, so on us. So those are the bones that are the same. So if you look at, and I will turn these off and this one on, you can see where it's color coded, right? So you have similarities, and they're, here's, oops, let me fix this. I'm going to draw on the top layer again. This is the pelvic bone, right? Shaped differently in a horse. They still have it. You would have to walk on all fours for this to happen the same way it does for a horse. And if you look, all of these bones, you still have these bones, but look at how much shorter, your femur here, right, your thigh bone is pretty long. On a horse, it's up way higher, and it's a lot shorter compared to its body, than it would be. But if you kind of see how things can bend, because arms and legs can only bend at joints, right? You don't have spaghetti arms. So you can't have them bending at funky places. But if you kind of realize that you can place the joints, and you'll kind of see me do that in other drawings, place the joints, place a line in between there, then you can see how to line those things up comparatively, and we'll talk about that later. But just kind of be aware, and right here, I mean, this is the horse's hoof right here is basically your fingernails. In fact, they're made out of something similar, which is keratin. So that's why their hooves can be trimmed, kind of the same way that you would trim your fingernails, and in fact need to be trimmed because they grow and get worn down. So anyway, but you can kind of see they're called something different here. So we have carpals and metacarpals, and tarsals and metatarsals is the bones in our hands and feet, right? And in a horse, they kind of refer to it as something else. It's a cannon bone is the upper one, and then you have the pastern sort of underneath it. And then in the back feet, you have, it gets a little more complicated. So you have this hock where the heel would be, right? And then you have a long pastern bone and a short pastern bone. But you don't, the big deal is for the drawing, you don't have to know the names of all these things, okay? And this is not a physiology course, but being aware that they exist is good because it helps you to know how the animal can and can't move, and what's happening for your drawing. Okay, so we're going to get to the actual drawing in just a minute in the next video.